Next, we will move over to the objectives of industrial policy of 1991. The first and foremost objective was to unshackle the industrial economy from unnecessary controls. There were a lot of governmental regulations happening during that period of time, because already to approve a kind of industry which has to develop in India, it has to cross so many approvals and so many regulation from that of government. So all those unnecessary bureaucratic controls was unshackled through 99. That was the basic aim of this kind of policy, to unshackle all kinds of regulations and control by government, so that there will be a free space for all the industries to operate and function and earn profit. Okay, so another aim behind bringing this 1991 industrial policy is to correct the distortions or weakness involved in the industrial sector. Whatever inefficiency, whatever weakness, or whatever problems were there in the industrial sector, to clear out them all and bring with a set of rules and regulations which would really help in industrial development was another aim of industrial policy of 1991. To introduce liberalization measures, because as I told that this industrial policy of 1991 came in line with the economic reforms, that is LPG. So one of the main aim of LPG is to liberalize them, to make more private participation happen, to involve more private parties into the industrial sector was another aim of private parties, and liberalize most of the controls and regulations, on make it liberal for them to work and operate, to liberate industries from restrictions of MRTP Act. So in 1969, MRTP means Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. Okay, so back in 1969, it was mainly this act came out to prevent the concentration of economic power in few hands. So there will be no unfair trade practices happening, very few people handling certain key industries, which will lead into monopoly of those kinds of industry. To restrict that kind of monopolies and restrictive practices, in 1969 government came out with MRTP Act. This kind of MRTP Act was restricting the development of many of the industries. See, MRTP Act, they followed in a form where there was investment restriction was there. It was said that the industries which crossed 100 crore investment and all have to go through so many licensing regulations and all. So because many of the priority sector and many of the key industries require huge investment. Now when this MRTP Act said that those kind of huge investments are not allowed, or those kind of huge investment need approval and it will be scrutinized by the government, that was a kind of hindrance for industrial development in India, because in iron and steel industry and other key industries in India really need big investment, but this act was acting as a hindrance for those kind of development. So making a bit liberal regulations with MRTP Act was another objective of framing this economic reform during this economic reform period, to achieve productivity, employment, and international competitiveness. So we already have studied, in the previous slide we saw that how we were non-competent. So when this economic policy was informed, or economic reform came out, in line with that new industrial policy also came. So it was main objective was to increase the productivity, increase the employment, and make, so when we are opening up our economy or opening up our industries to the rest of the world, we are involving the other industries of the other world also into our country. So if that is happening, we will become more efficient, it will increase our productivity. When, see, opening up of our economy means we can get technology from there, we can get workers from there, our workers will go and work there. So when machines are being imported from different parts of the world and we are producing on with that machines, productivity will go up, and there will be competition, because now the products of our products can really compete in the international market because we have the technology to produce the first class products in the world. So, new industrial policy aimed at improving the productivity, employment, and international competitiveness. To reduce the load on public sector enterprises, the main, before the 1990 policy in 1956 and all, we saw that the main responsibility of industrial sector was with the government. Public sector was given more importance. So that was a kind of load for public sector and government, because government have very scarce budget and resource to allocate to different sectors, so they cannot completely take the responsibility of industrial development. Private parties has to be given some work with the supervision of government was allowed. So something like that kind has to be allowed rather than giving full load to public sector, which resulted in inefficiency. See, division of labor is very important. Suppose I'm giving you to study the whole 10 chapters and write an exam, it will be a load for you and you will end up inefficient, end up scoring inefficiently. So it was even a load on public sector because government has to channelize their resources into different other sectors as well. So new industrial policy tried to reduce the role of public sector enterprises. These are some of the objectives which 1991 new industrial policy tried to achieve. What are the basic features of industrial policy 1991? The first and the foremost recommendation, or one of the thing done through this policy, was industrial delicensing. All the other industries except the industries related to security and strategic, that is mainly defense industry, social industries like education, health, hazardous chemical and environmental concerned industries, all those except these industries, all other industries was delicensed. That means all other industries was not required to take a license to operate. There were 18 industries which had to take license. Some of them were coal, petroleum, alcohol, sugar, cigarette industry, asbestos, skin and leather industry, animal fur and all, because it involved environmental concern, motor car, newspaper, uh, plywood and wood decorative industry, because again it is related to environment, defense equipment, electronic and aerospace equipment. All these industries needed licensing. Other than these industries, all other industries was allowed to operate without license. So delicensing was kind of reducing the restrictions by the government. Another feature of industrial policy 1991 was foreign investment. Foreign investment basically means FDI. So all the high priority industries were approved with FDI up to 51%. So we understood that there should be a dynamic relationship with domestic industries and foreign industry. That relationship has to be changed. We were having a static relationship where only domestic industries were given importance. We understood that only when we open up our economy and make this relationship more dynamic with updating modern technology, which needs more investment, thus we allowed foreign direct investment from other nations. 51% of FDI was allowed in high priority industries. High priority industries basically mean those industries which require more investment and which require advanced technology to be used, like iron and steel industries. So those industries were opened up to the world, and other countries can come into our country and invest in such industries. They can buy our shares. So this allows us to explore systematic exploring of the world market. Even we can improve our exports through FDI. Okay. Next, another important feature of industrial policy of 1991 were foreign technology. Foreign technology, automatic approval for technological agreement can be given to many of the industries. So that means there need not be any prior clearance, should not need not be taken by industries for technological agreement which may include, like if you want to hire foreign technicians from outside, or you want to have a foreign test of your indigenously developed technology, something related to technology. So earlier, if we needed to test or buy a machinery from China, we need to get lots of approval. But now, after 1991 policy, automatic approval was given for all that kinds of technological agreements. So there is no need of prior clearance was not needed for technological transfer. So the moment we open up our economy and liberalize our economy and tell that you can adopt the technology which has been used in some other parts of India, then some parts of world, then that is really going to increase our productivity, right? See, suppose we saw that some agriculture practice is happening in some good agriculture practice, we're using the machine, some kind of machine is being used in Australia, and we felt like that machine is really good, we can import that and make use of that in our country. We need not get an approval from government. Automatic approval for such kind of technological agreement will be provided after this 1991 reform. Another feature of industrial policy 1991 is public sector. So public sector, after center was given the more importance in any kind of philosophy of development. We have studied that, like the role of public sector was changing after 1991, because earlier, before 1990s, we gave more importance to government, all the industries government had participation in them. After 1990, we understood that giving more importance to government sector is leading inefficiency, and sick industries are being more in number. So we reduced the role of public sector or government in industrial development. Industries which included mainly in reserve industries like arms and ammunition, only these many industries which was known as reserve industries were under the control of government now, which included arms and ammunition, which basically is defense equipment, which can be aircrafts, warships, all those things. Atomic energy, coal, mineral oil, mining of iron and ore, and other minerals which may include magnesium, gypsum, sulfur, gold and diamond, copper, lead, zinc, tin, any all other kind of precious minerals were under the control of government. And the rail transportation, as you might be knowing, because railways are run by government till now. So all these, some of the reserve industries were under the government. Other than that, all other industries was opened up and private participation was allowed. This was not the case earlier in 1956. I told you only most of the industries, there are the three categories of industries where even though private participation was allowed, government used to interfere in many of the private industries. But after 1991 reforms, government just took control of these many reserve industries. Other than these reserve industries, they gave full control to the private parties. Disinvestment is considered to be another feature of industrial policy of 1991. Disinvestment basically means selling of shares. So you in early January, you heard the news of Nirmala Sitharaman disinvestment policy of government, selling the shares of Bharat Petroleum and Air India and all those things. What does that mean? They are selling the shares of certain companies and putting back that money which they get from selling of that shares in back into the company and trying to improve the performance of that company. So this actually happened after 1991. Till then, these things were not allowed. So many of the public sector undertaking companies shares were sold outside to the public or to RBI or anywhere. So they will disinvest, they will sell the shares of certain selected public units. Mostly those public units will be is ready to be converted as a NPA or non-performing assets kind of companies. They just change or sell the shares to the public and take the money and put back those money into the business and try to improve the efficiency. So this kind of disinvestment actually started from 1991. Till then it was not there. We are following it till date. MRTP limit. I have already told you what MRTP is. Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act, which was implemented in 1969. Now that limitation on investment was no more there. So as per the MRTP limit, any firm worth who has the asset worth 100 crore was classified as an MRTP firm, and they will only be allowed after approval. So that was a kind of hindrance for industrial development. That limit was taken away, or it was extended. The thrust of the policy, now the thrust or the main thrust of MRTP policy was to be more on controlling unfair or restrictive business practices. Now they didn't give importance to investment and its limit. They were just trying to control unfair business practices, or which lead to monopoly practices. So they were just overruling and checking whether there is any unfair trade practices was the only thing done by MRTP Act. Okay, so many of the industries can do huge investment and develop. Another feature of industrial policy in 1991 was location policy was liberated. See, location policy, earlier there were huge regulation on where to set up these industries. They have to take n number of approvals from government to set up a industry. After 1991, they were allowed that no prior approval is needed to set up industries, except the cities of more than 1 million population is there, or if they had to set up an industry in such places where population is more, then it has to be located outside 25 kilometers of its periphery. So that is why you can see that in cities like Bangalore and Chennai, you cannot find a real industry in the center or heart of the city. You cannot find it. Every industry will be at the border or the outskirts of the city. So it has to, you can set up the industries in the city, but it has to be located 25 kilometers away from the heart of the city. So the location policy was also liberated through the industrial policy of 1991. So this is very important turning point in the industrial development, because when we were doing the planning, we were in the first plan period we gave importance to agriculture, second plan period we gave importance to industries, and many of the key industries developed during that period of time. We have studied that. But after that, because most of these key industries were under government and it was imposed with so many restrictions, it was not performing up to mark. So this industrial policy resolution of 1991 was a turning point in industrial development of India.